Mulroney, Meghan Markle's one-time best friend, whose children played a very prominent role in Meghan's wedding, is apparently officially getting divorced from her husband, Ben Mulroney. This has been reported in Page Six and picked up by People magazine as well. And the timing, you could say, is sort of rather fascinating because it seems like her one-time best friend, Meghan, is maybe having a few marital problems of her own. So we are going to discuss some of this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I do provide compelling royal commentary, so please hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you back. And we're going to try something a little bit different today. We're going to try to keep this video somewhat short. So we're not going to have a Crown Report segment, but I do think I'll do a little recording here of something that we saw recently from Catherine, the Princess of Wales. But let's get into this Jessica Mulroney thing. So if you remember who Jessica is, she was Meghan's one-time best friend, really her segue into the upper elite of Toronto, Canada. And so Jessica and Meghan were very, very much tied at the hip. I actually did a whole sort of deep dive into what happened with the two of them. And I scrolled through a lot of Jessica's Instagram, and especially 2016, 17, like there was just a ton of Meghan Markle on there. They were the bestest of friends at one point, but Jessica apparently stepped into a bit of a social media firestorm, and Meghan immediately dropped her like a hot potato. Like as soon as that happened, Meghan was like, "Oh, I'm done. I've been looking for a way to get her away from me forever, and here's my opportunity." And I couldn't help but think that's kind of like sad that you're looking for this chance to get rid of what was a one-time really, really good friend. And let's not forget, Jessica's kids played a hugely prominent role in Meghan's wedding. Her sons held her veil. Meghan gave her bouquet to Jessica's daughter, Ivy. Like the connection there is really, really huge. So for Meghan Markle to move on from that was really shocking in some ways. I remember at the time because it's like, you guys are like close, and her kids are in all your wedding pictures, basically. And so this idea that Meghan would just suddenly drop her is kind of crazy to think about. But apparently, Meghan, Jessica, and her husband are going through a bit of a rough patch, and it seems like divorce might be in their future, although they haven't officially confirmed that yet. But the People magazine title says Meghan Markle's former friend Jessica splits from her husband, son of Canada's former prime minister. Here is a report. And it says, according to Page Six, their split, Jessica seems sad, but also relieved to have some clarity. Another insider added that the couple separated some time ago. And representatives have reached out to Jessica, but have not heard a response. And if you remember as well, sort of what happened with Jessica, and you want to be kind of curious if Meghan Markle was really, in some ways, the downfall of this relationship because Jessica was riding on a high in 2020. She was on Good Morning America. She had like a Netflix reality TV show regarding weddings and stuff, and she was very much in demand. And so she had this really, really high profile. And it was because of Meghan and really her response to something that Meghan was going through. Now, you could argue that Jessica overstepped her bounds when it came to this social media kerfluffle. And honestly, it's almost hard to describe because it's so incredibly ridiculous and stupid. But Jessica was, in a sense, trying to defend Meghan in a particular situation in some ways, or defend Meghan's allegations that would come out later of dealing with racist, toxic press. And Jessica was trying to jump to her aid in this social media debacle with another influencer. And the result was that Meghan just immediately cut her out. And that wasn't the end of it, though. Jessica lost her spot on Good Morning America. Jessica was no longer friends with somebody who was, you could say at the time, especially influential in the Hollywood industry. And in addition to that, her other TV show on Netflix, I believe, got canceled. Like Jessica lost a lot of work, in part because she got involved in something she probably went too far. And I know I'm being vague, but honestly, the whole thing was so stupid. I just don't feel like kind of regurgitating it or looking into exactly what happened because this was at the height of BLM, and it was just sort of dumb things that happen online that get blown way out of proportion. And somebody And in this case, it was both Jessica and I think the person that Jessica was in particular targeting as well, both wanted the downfall of the other. And that happens online quite a bit. And so it wasn't, let's say, a huge surprise, but Jessica's loss, I think, of so much business, so much influence, and those sorts of things probably added stress to her relationship and marriage. I don't know what Ben does, but if Jessica was bringing in a lot of the bacon and all of a sudden she's stripped of so much, it's going to cause reverberations. And instead of being, you could argue, a good and decent friend, Megan decided, yeah, no, I'm going to drop Jessica. I'm just going to drop Jessica and I'm going to move on to other friendships. Megan was interested in Hollywood, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King, all these sorts of people. And Jessica did not fit into her world anymore. And you have to think as well, that's gotta hurt too. That somebody you were unbelievably close with drops you for sort of an insanely stupid reason. And you can see that Megan is just repeating the pattern that she did with Jessica, glomming on to people who are more influential, more successful, and more so many things than Megan actually is, and propping herself up through those people. And it's possible as well, Jessica realized within that process that she was being used by Megan. And the timing again here is sort of interesting. Obviously, Ben's father has passed away, I think it was last year. So a pillar of the family can also sort of fracture things that you're rethinking your life and you decide, maybe this relationship isn't what I thought it was. But the more interesting aspect to consider, and in a way, maybe Jessica and Megan become friends again, although I don't really think that's what's going to happen because Jessica is not somebody Megan wants to be friends with. Jessica can't offer her the same things that she used to be able to. Is that Megan seemingly is going through a tough time as well. Harry is just falling apart. He, I think, is totally and completely overwhelmed by the collapse of their public reputation. I think in many ways he wants his old life back, the life Megan forced him to give up. And that does put immense stress on a relationship. Yeah, they could say or tell each other, oh no, we found greater success outside the royal fold than in it. But I don't think anybody could honestly say that's the honest truth there. I think most people are going, well, you guys maybe had some success here. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of failure as well, a lot of stress put on a relationship that already had shaky foundations, you could say, because Harry and Meghan don't have a ton in common. And you add in all the toxicity, the family separation and strife, and so many different things. And you can see where a marriage, even the strongest, would start fracturing under that pressure. And I would argue Harry and Meghan's marriage and relationship was never that secure because of what Meghan did in that instance. You can never convince me that basically leaving his entire life, going to Hollywood, being producer was really Harry's dream. That was Meghan's dream. And Harry, yeah, he went along with it, much to his own detriment, but that was not, I'm sure, what he envisioned for himself in life. He just went along with his wife because he thought, oh, this will be successful. And it just happened to be the worst decision. And the hints that we're getting in the media are of a couple, in this case of Harry and Meghan, who are on very diverging paths. Harry wants back into his family, whereas Meghan is only interested in Hollywood and trying to clamor on to whatever she can from the Netflix deal that's going to go away. And so they're sort of that they could be mirroring each other in some ways. It's kind of curious, Jessica and Meghan. Although Jessica has been married for 16 years, I think Meghan for less than half of that, 7 or 8. You have issues that do develop over time, especially when you don't have a solid foundation. And I think that's the case definitely for Harry and Meghan. And I do find it very sad that Jessica and her family are going through this. I'm wishing them all the best. It seems like she's sort of on Instagram trying to be a little bit of the sex spot in some of her recent videos, and she looks fantastic. But sometimes when you're, I guess, hurt and trying to rebound, you maybe go a little too much in that direction. So we will see where things go and what happens with the couple. And it seems like as well for Ben's family, like they wanted to do an intervention over Jessica's whole situation because it made the family look bad and they didn't really like it. And so you have this just deeper problem going on. And she, I'm sure, again, felt the stress and strain of that social media kerfluffle when in some ways a very poor way of doing it was merely trying to lift up a friend. And Megan was frustrated that she got pulled into that. So, guys, anyways, that is all for this video. Let me know what you think of this, let's say, new format. And let me know what you think of the impending, perhaps, divorce of Ben and Jessica Mulroney. Will Harry and Meghan follow suit at some point? Let me know your comments down below. And I shall talk to you again very soon. Bye.